everybody. Welcome back to the Forbidden Land podcast. It's your favorite show, always giving good news to really lighten up your week or your weekend. Perfect lead into the weekend. I want to start with something a little more local. And of course, when I mean local, I don't mean like where I live. I mean domestic policy and domestic politics. Because we have been so hyper-focused on our illegal $21 billion war so far. Probably higher now. Because I think, that was the number from yesterday. So our $23 billion war. We've been so focused on that, right? That we forgot to focus on our glorious domestic policy. Graham Plattner, who's running in Maine, who I've written some stuff about and I've criticized before, here he is talking about the culture war. Now, this made me feel a lot better about him. That he at least acknowledges that culture war politics is a distraction from the real issues.
This whole campaign is funded by a billionaire not from Maine.
Which campaign?
The anti-trans campaign in Maine. It's funded by an out-of-state billionaire to make sure that we have this discussion and we don't talk about raising his taxes. That's why it exists. This doesn't. I think there are like 2 trans kids that compete in high school sports in Maine. There are 40,000 Mainers who are going to lose health care because of the lack of the ACA extension. I'm sorry, one of those things seems very important and real to me. One of them seems like an invented culture war scare to keep people divided. This whole campaign.
Wow. Finally, folks, rare in the wild. A Democrat finally acknowledging that the culture war is horseshit, and it's to distract you from the material conditions around you. That culture war is designed to distract you from the fact that you don't have free healthcare, that you don't have adequate transportation, that you don't have affordable housing. Shocker. I feel like a broken record because every week I'm out here talking about, hey, maybe it's not a bad idea to give people a little bit of money for food, right? Maybe it's not a bad idea to figure out ways to lower the cost of housing and decommodify housing, right? Maybe it's not a bad idea to pay your workers more. Maybe it's not a bad idea to give people health care that's affordable or free. Maybe it's not a bad idea to offer alternate modes of transportation, that the current form of public transportation in this country is so kneecapped. It's to convince you that all public transit is this way, and not that public transit can be better if it's well-funded and actually organized and managed in a efficient way. God, I just feel like a broken record. Every week I'm talking about shit like this. So I'm glad that Graham knows about this. I'm glad that Graham Plattner is on board with this, and here's him reiterating it.
I just have no patience for getting dragged in to, frankly, culture war issues that are being invented by the people that don't want us talking about raising their taxes. That's why it exists. And every single breath we take just discussing culture war stuff that, quite frankly, has very little material reality for any of us. Every breath we take on that is a breath that we are not talking about universal health care. It is a breath we are not talking about going after wealth where it's been hoarded, not talking about breaking up corporate monopoly power in this country. That's what we need to be focusing on. But we do not sell people out. I refuse to accept that that is necessary in politics. A politics that is willing to sell anyone out will eventually sell everyone out.
True. Yeah, look at like the 2024 election, right? Where the Dems systematically went through and just dropped support for every marginalized group. And then went with this centrist Republican position of like, look, guys, it's Liz Cheney. Remember the name Cheney? And it's Democrats being like, yeah, that man killed like 1 million people in Iraq. And the Democrats were like, yeah, but like, they don't like Trump. Doesn't that count for something? And then trans people were like, please talk about issues that affect us. And Democrats were like, you should kill yourself. I'm glad he's on the ball. It seems that he's polling fairly well in the primary in Maine. And yeah, I mean, he's polling. God, where's his poll numbers? I have it pulled up. As of like March 5th, he's polling 43% to Janet Mills, 38%. So it does seem like, Graham Plattner has a pretty decent shot. He's endorsed by Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. He has endorsements from like 1 billion different people. David Hogg from the DNC, the United Auto Workers president, Sean Fain. He has a lot of labor union support, which is good. A lot of like Track APAC supports him too. I feel pretty good about this one. But I am a little worried. Here's why I'm a little worried. Because for the general at least, but probably for the primary as well, I'm a little worried because APAC just recently dumped like a lot of money into the Illinois 9 race. Illinois 9 is pieces of Chicago with a lot of neighboring suburbs and whatnot. It's a really weird shaped district. One of those like very clearly fucked around with districts. And the primary for Maine is in June. Ooh, APAC, man. They're about to come at us hard. Illinois 9 had a House primary for the Democrats. And Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, who I talked about a couple weeks ago for her bizarre Ukraine take, even though I don't think, or not Ukraine, Taiwan take, even though I don't think that had any effect on her primary performance. She was endorsed by Mark Ruffalo.
Don't let APAC, a foreign lobbying group, buy our politicians and control what the United States does. Vote for Kat and vote for a politician who will be working for you, not for a foreign entity who drags us into wars and cares nothing for the American people.
Based and awesome. I can't wait to see him in Spider-Man. So Mark Ruffalo endorsed her. She's got Ro Khanna's endorsement, Rashida Tlaib's endorsement, Ilhan Omar's endorsement. My issue is how late all of their endorsements were. Like, why are y'all endorsing her so close to the election day when early voting was going on? And APAC dumped millions into this race, into Laura Fine, into running ads for the progressive candidate in the race that wasn't Kat, to make her into sort of like a spoiler. Based on the poll numbers I saw, let me recheck the poll here, because let's see. I want to see what the ultimate results were. I don't think that candidate had a devastating effect on Kat's performance. Ooh. I mean, overall, she got 6,200 votes. I guess some of that could have gone to Kat, but I feel like a lot of that would have also gone to Daniel Biss. So Kat came up 4,000 votes short. Still pretty damn good, considering she was a journalist running against established politicians. And she ultimately didn't win the primary, Daniel Biss did, but she came pretty damn close. She was only 4,000 votes shy of beating him in this race. Pretty damn good. I would say pretty good performance. But I'm pretty sure Daniel Biss used to be the mayor of a city in that district. I think Evanston. Yeah, Evanston. He used to be the mayor. He also ran for governor one year. I think that's the year that Pritzker became the governor. And then he also used to serve in the Illinois House and the Illinois Senate. So I mean, he pretty established politician. So big race, huge race to be getting 32,000 votes to his 36,000. Big race to be coming that close to him, like within tickling distance of him. Laura Fine did 25,000 votes in this primary, and then Mike Simmons, Phil Andrew, the progressive candidate Bushra Amawala, got the 6,200 votes, and then it just goes down the list from there. But yeah, unfortunately, Kat did not win the district. She did beat out Daniel Biss in a portion of the district, in the McHenry County part of the district, which I would say is pretty awesome. It's a pretty good accomplishment. She beat him by 400 votes in the McHenry County district. But she lost to him in the Lake County district, or the Lake County part of the district and the Cook County part of the district. Granted, the Cook part, she didn't lose by a lot. She only lost by 4,000 votes, which, that's a pretty good accomplishment. I'm just saying she did well. She performed well in this election despite not winning. She still performed well. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think she did pretty well. But, even with the like $20 million that AIPAC dumped into this race, she still performed pretty decent. But it's still disgusting and alarming that an Israeli lobbyist group can have this much interference and influence in our elections. This is like the Russia shit, dude. We're so focused on the Russia thing, which is justified. Russia did meddle in our 2016 elections in a way that is similar to what AIPAC is doing right now. How come nobody will point a finger at AIPAC? I wonder. Why is everyone so afraid of Israel? Stop giving these PACs power. Stop listening to them. They don't have your interest in mind. Why should you give a shit about this random country in the Middle East that bastardizes the Jewish people, that uses them as a tool to commit untold horrors in the Middle East? Why should you care about that country? You're you're nothing more than a tool to the Israeli government. The Israeli government has directives on the books to murder you if the country feels threatened in any way. On October 7th, Israel was killing its own people, its own civilians, because it would have rather killed them than have Hamas take any of them hostage. That's how much Israel cares about its own people. Imagine how much it cares about you. Zero. None. They don't care. So why are we letting them interfere in our elections? Think about that. They just ran a $20 million ad campaign against Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, a Palestinian American running in the Illinois District 9 House election. $20 million for one of the 435 fucking House races. How crazy is that? They have so much of a grip. And speaking of Israel, here's what Graham Plattner thinks about the war in Iran. Over 6,000 U.S. strikes in Iran over the last 13 days. This was March 13th. Averaging a strike every 3 minutes. But apparently we cannot afford to build more schools and hospitals in Maine, only to bomb them overseas. Awesome. Great take. I can see why Track APEC endorsed them. Track APAC is actually a really good resource, by the way, for tracking who takes APAC or J Street money or other various Israeli super PAC donations. It's really good for tracking that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, how ridiculous is this? That we are letting foreign, agents basically control our election outcomes. And that we as the American people are so malleable, that we're so susceptible to manipulation that we just let that happen. I've always found it so bizarre how convincing campaign ads are for people. When I see a candidate, I research them, I look up what they're all about, look up their positions, see what they've said. If they've been in government, I look at what they've done, because their actions sometimes speak louder than words. I look at what they've done, what stances they have, their background. I pay attention to any stories that come out about them, because there could be something that they've done that I don't agree with. I don't watch a campaign ad and go, that guy has some convincing ideas. And then 5 minutes later, another campaign ad for a different candidate where I go, interesting, good point. God, I'm torn. Stop operating that way with these elections, man. Stop letting campaign ads sway you so hard. It is ridiculous how easy it was for AIPAC to do this. Granted, they almost failed. They came close. They technically did fail because they wanted Laura Fine. But, it's crazy how easy it is for them to manipulate the masses like this. Because we just let it happen. Speaking of manipulating the masses, never mind. I forgot there's still some domestic stuff to talk about. Fuck, that was such a good transition into more Israel stuff. Let's move on to Florida. Move on to this election. In Boca Raton, they elected a new mayor. And for the first time in a really long time, a Democrat is now the mayor of Boca Raton. And with the initial automatic count, with the initial count of votes, he won by 1 vote. Now, after the manual recount, he won by 5 votes. But that's 5 people that if they hadn't shown up to vote, it would have been a tie. 6, he would have lost. That's pretty crazy. I don't know, I just really like this story. A Democrat winning the Boca Raton election by 1 vote initially, and then 5 after a recount. Pretty awesome. All right. Now, speaking of manipulating the masses, let's talk about the Iran war again. The Treasury Secretary sat down for an interview. And in the middle of the interview, he got called to the White House, which is not something that usually happens.
I listened to you on the...
The president wants you. Sorry, the president wants you right away.
Oh, okay. Okay. No problem at all. See you shortly, Mr. Secretary.
You can work that in.
Mr. Secretary, I have to say, it's a first, I'm sure a last as well, that an interviewee's been pulled away to go to the Situation Room. How was the president? Was he stressed?
No, the president is in great spirits. The Iranian mission is proceeding well ahead of schedule, and I have.
Bro is shook. Bro shaking, man. I've watched other interviews of him to make sure that this isn't just like how he sounds and people are reading too far into it. This is him sounding terrified and really truly shaken by what he was just told. Because in his other interviews, he's super chill, calculated, almost robotic. Very straight to the point. He is so clearly shaken after this. I think all these officials know that America's on its last legs right now. Like, we are in a shaky place. Me and my coworker were even talking about this. I have a coworker that was saying, man, I wouldn't be surprised if all these countries joined together and just destroyed half the country, half the US. And I'm like, you know what? We're making enough enemies where I think I will live long enough to see strikes on the United States, retaliatory revenge strikes on the United States. I think I will live long enough to see that. I mean, 9/11 is an example of that. 9/11 is blowback from our presence in the Middle East after the Soviet-Afghanistan war. We armed what would become Al-Qaeda, the rebels that were in Afghanistan. We armed them, but then we kept our military presence in the region long past when they wanted us to. And that was one of the main reasons why they even formed, terrorist groups in the first place to plan this type of stuff. And then the way Israel knocked those buildings down in Beirut, Lebanon, was like a key visual inspiration for 9/11. That's all blowback. It's all blowback from our Cold War activities with the USSR in the Middle East. That's all it is. So, I think I will live long enough to see the blowback from this war. I'm surprised we haven't seen the blowback from the war in Afghanistan yet. We have kind of seen the blowback of the Iraq war with the rise of ISIS and like attacks in Nice, France, and various other attacks on areas of the region by ISIS. I think we have seen a little bit of blowback with that. Of course, there's some muddying the waters because there's heavy evidence to show that Israel and the U.S. have been colluding with ISIS. Especially because ISIS and Hamas are not exactly friendly with each other. But yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen blowback from the Afghanistan war yet. I'm surprised we haven't. I won't be surprised if we get blowback from the Iran war. If Iran launches a retaliatory strike onto the mainland U.S., part of me feels like there is a legitimate chance of that happening. Not in the bullshit way that the FBI is saying, oh, drone attack on California. Fuck off. I don't think that's real, but I do think that it's possible we will see some kind of retaliatory attack on a part of the U.S. in some way in the future. Because I don't think this war is going anywhere. I think this war will last for probably about a year or two, at least. So get ready for your gas prices to be like $8 a gallon. They're almost about to be $4 where I am. So, yay. Yeah, man, I think he sees the writing on the wall. I think he sees that we're about to be fucked after this war. And especially because we don't have the money for this war either. Like, I think he also realizes that we're running out of money real fast. You can only give the rich tax breaks for so long before, our debt goes up like $1 trillion a week. So maybe he's also realizing that we're running out of funds for these types of operations. Or maybe they requested, God damn, my hair sucks. Maybe they requested more money for the war, and this dude had to be like, we don't really have the funds for that. And Trump was like, shut your ass up. We will find it. Find me the money, sir. Maybe that's what it is. Who knows? Just very interesting to see the Treasury Secretary get so shaken by all of this. Let's see. The U.S. Treasury Secretary said that, quote, no price tag would make the Iran war unaffordable, end quote. Yeah. Remember that, by the way, when politicians are like, oh, we can't afford the premiums for the Affordable Care Act. Oh, we can't afford a mother of 3 kids to buy, a pack of cookies for their kids on SNAP benefits. We can't afford that kind of thing. Oh, we can't afford to repave the roads or to create public transit infrastructure, or we can't afford to update our government systems to be more efficient. Oh, but $23 billion estimated for this almost 3-week long war with Iran. Write the check, send the check over. Lockheed Martin, you're about to get another yacht, Oh, but that mother of 3 that wanted the pack of cookies for her kids, we're going to spend like $20 million investigating SNAP to see why you were even allowed to do something like that in the first place. God forbid your kids have a Sprite on SNAP benefits. God forbid you buy a steak with SNAP benefits. We're going to spend $20 million to investigate you for that. And in that process, we're then going to cut the SNAP funding, and we're going to redirect all that funding to blowing up an elementary school in Iran and killing over 170 schoolgirls. We'd rather bomb and destroy and kill Iranian children than allow you to feed your children food that they'll eat. And you know what? We're already killing them over there. We might as well starve your kids too over here. That's the country we live in, folks. That's the country I live in. I was born into such a weird era of world history. I can't think of a single time that it's been genuinely pleasant and comfortable to live in this country. We have so much money for war, but yet none left over for the people that live here. It's so gross. And people just don't care. They think we're broke as hell. They literally think that we can't afford free healthcare. They think that we can't afford a high-speed rail system. It came out after the war in Afghanistan ended that the total spent on the Afghanistan war and the Iraq war could have funded free healthcare, public transit, food benefits, Medicare. Like, it literally could have funded all of this shit. And subsidized housing. Could have funded all of this for years. And yet we spent all of it on blowing up, people in Afghanistan, on massacring villages of Iraqis in their town for the crime of being there at the wrong time. Apparently. That's what we would have rather spent it on. So it seems that we are considering a ground invasion of Iran. The Pentagon approved deployment of Marines, a quote expeditionary unit, end quote, of about 2,500 Marines. So, also Marines being stationed in permanently in Japan are being ordered to head to the Middle East. Yeah. I mean, we're about to do a Rock War 2. I shouldn't even say Rock War 2. But, it's like the GTA games, how there's like Vice City and then there's going to be GTA 6 or, GTA San Andreas and then there's GTA 5. It's going to be like that. We had the Gulf War and all that stuff. But we have the Iraq War, and now we're about to have the Iraq War 2. This is literally our second Iraq War, where we're going to do a major ground invasion operation of invading Iran and taking over their oil systems, if we don't end up bombing them first, and then just murdering their whole government and occupying it again. I mean, did we not learn from the first time around with the Shah? Actually, we did learn. Because presidents stopped fucking with Iran after that. And it's just Trump that has this like weird egotistical obsession with taking out Iran. Do I have the clip in here? Oh my god. Or was that last week? It was Brian Kilmeade. Was that last week? Damn, I'm getting old, bro. I'm getting so old. Oh my god. I'm dying. Oh. I'm dying. Where's the clip? I know I put it in here. Shit. Oh, here it is. I did put it in here. This president has been obsessed. God, I couldn't find that shit. This president has been obsessed with bombing Karg Island for like 40 years. Karg Island has almost zero military presence on it, and it is simply an oil facility hub for Iran. Iran gets a lot of its oil from Karg Island. And it's the red line that Iran said would cause them to close the Strait of Hormuz. And we decided, why don't we bomb it? Trump has been obsessed with bombing Karg Island for like 40 fucking years. Here's him calling into the Brian Kilmeade podcast or whatever the fuck. And this is how this interaction went.
So the year was 1988. This future president, Donald Trump, was selling a book called The Art of the Deal.
Just glaze fest. Donald Trump consistently is getting his nuts and dick cleaned by these people, man. Consistently.
He gave an interview to a British newspaper, at which time you talked about Iran. You said we have to win back respect for America on the world stage, and you had stern words for the Islamic Republic. You said they've been beating us up psychologically, making us look like a bunch of fools. One bullet shot of one of our men or ships, I'd do a number on Karg Island. I'd go in and I'd take it. Now here in 2026, you are president. Are you thinking about taking Karg Island, where 90% of the Iranian oil goes through? And what do you think about? Do you remember that interview and that school of thought?
This is before we bombed Karg Island. Like, I think it was literally the day of, and Trump was waiting on the markets to close to bomb the island, because if the markets were open after he bombed it, it would have fucking tanked the market immediately. And so I just love this response to this question, because he's basically asking, can you give me early access to a military operation you're about to conduct, which would spell insane consequences for the United States? A insanely consequential action that is unprecedented in this country.
Yeah, but Brian, I can't answer a question like that. You shouldn't ask it. And you shouldn't be even asking it. It's one of so many different things. It's not high on the list, but it's one of so many different things. And okay, I can change my mind in seconds. But, you know, for you to ask a question, who would answer a question like that? I mean, you're asking me a question, Karg Island, okay, everything. Who would ask a question like that? And what fool would answer it, okay? Let's say I was going to do it, or let's say I wasn't going to do it. What would I tell you? Oh, yes, Brian, I'm thinking about doing it. Let me let you know what time and when it'll take place. It's not, you know.
Completely blasting this motherfucker, dude. Completely. Well, let me just tell you what time, what place. I really do hate the president. But it's moments like these where I'm like, you know what? He does kind of let the realness show through sometimes, where he legitimately was probably like, what a dumbass. Why the fuck would I tell him if I was going to strike Karg Island? Why would I tell you that? The fuck? That'd be the equivalent of like, Obama, you've been hunting Osama bin Laden for years now. Are you thinking about going in tonight and killing him? Obama would be like, I'm not telling you that. Or Obama would probably just say no. You know, just immediately deny it. Which I feel like is what Trump probably should have done, but I guess he would have come across as like a big old liar. As if he doesn't already. This would be like an overt lie. Although I don't think he really cares about that. I just think it's funny how he completely destroys Brian's confidence with this answer.
It's sort of a foolish question. A little surprising for you because you're a smart man.
I
Such a foolish question and surprising from you because you're a smart man. damn, dude. And these guys will continue to just glaze his nuts. Just continue to glaze him. Regardless. I mean, you know, this is that Ted Cruz method. Call my dad the Zodiac Killer and call my wife an ugly pig, and I'll be doing phone calls for you on election night. He's going to continue to glaze him.
Yeah, but you were just pretty amazing that you thought about it in 1988.
Oh, man. Dude, I'm not going to lie. Pre-2000s, even, no, you know what? Pre-2004, I'm going to go with. Trump is just a dude who talks a bunch of horseshit with the confidence of like a guy that knows what he's talking about. He just was saying shit back then. He was a New York elite, you know, just like all those other garbage ass elites. He was a New York elite. That's all he was, a slumlord. And he always had some garbage opinion on U.S. politics. I mean, think about it. At the time of him saying that, he's almost criticizing the Reagan and Bush administration. I guess 88, it would have been the Reagan administration. So, I mean, in a way, he's criticizing Reagan for not being more harsh on Iran, which, of course, the reason for that is because Reagan was secretly giving weapons to Iran for the Iran-Iraq war. You know, the Iran-Contra scandal. But, you know, Trump was just saying a bunch of horseshit. He was always saying some bullshit. Famously on 9/11, he's bragging about his building being the tallest again in New York City. You know, then immediately after that, he tried to take the opportunity to be the architect behind the New World Trade Center, which looked like the original. It was just more reinforced. Such a Trump idea. Like, just the dumbest motherfucker on earth. You know, such a exclusively Trump idea. You know, this dude was always doing some bullshit. If he had lost the 2016 election, he would have ran in every subsequent election after that. He would have. He would have had no other ambitions, you know. That or he would have ran for Senate in, like, Florida. Probably would have tried to topple Marco Rubio. This dude was just saying some shit all the time. Talking out his ass. Oh, if they shot one man, I would take out Karg Island. I think a lot of people at that time knew what a disaster that would be if the U.S. struck Karg Island. Even in 88, I think they understood just 9 years into the new Iranian Islamic Republic. I think they knew at that time it would be a disaster to do something like that. Yeah, it's not even like a smart thing to say. 40 years ago, I mean, you know, making that kind of prediction that far out, so stupid. Oh, if I was president, I would fucking nuke Iran or whatever. God damn. So yeah, obviously, I said that, you know, we struck Karg Island. Pretty big deal. Here's what Pete Hegseth had to say about this in 2020 when it came to Iran's cultural sites. Because Karg Island has a lot of nice cultural sites. And I know the community notes on this post because I can see them. I can see the proposed ones are all out here saying some shit about, oh, they didn't strike these. They didn't strike these. It's coming. It's coming. They did it in Gaza. They've done it in Iraq when they raided Iraq for all of its religious artifacts. They've done it in Afghanistan. They're going to do it here. And just the fact that we've struck oil facilities will inevitably affect these surrounding areas. These old religious sites, this wildlife, all this cool old architecture.
We have a president who...
Here's what our current Secretary of Defense thinks about destroying cultural landmarks.
Now has a long memory, understands the nature of the terrorist Islamic Iranian regime, and knows they trust one thing.
I assume this is right after we killed Soleimani. Because I remember when this happened, because at the time I was shitting bricks and peeing my pants because I thought I was about to get drafted for World War III. I was 18. I was about to turn 18 in about a month. And, I was in high school and I was like, holy shit. We're about to go to war. I know a lot of people forget about this event because COVID came 2 months later to the United States. But, at the time we were all discussing like who's going to get drafted. I think out of like our core 4 guys, we as a group, we came to the determination that at least one guy would get drafted because he already had a military family history and he was of good health. Meanwhile, the rest of us, one of us had dual citizenship, so he could just go back to his country and renounce his citizenship here. The other one was like legally blind, and then I have Tourette's, so we were like, we're out. You got to go to war, buddy. But I believe this is probably in reference to us killing Iran's top general.
Strength. That's the one thing they respect. Weakness, they run right over, which they did over Obama. They know. Do they want their economic sites, their military?
Did Iran run all over Obama? Dude, think about the advantage we had at the time. We had a treaty with them, an agreement with them, a joint resolution that a bunch of countries signed. It wasn't just us. Where we had access to their nuclear facilities. We had nuclear evaluators in there, like people monitoring how much uranium they were enriching, to what degree. We had so much access. So much. And the reason Iran agreed to it was because it was either that or this. That was why they agreed to it. They accepted those terms over a Israeli bombing brigade that would just absolutely flatten the country out. That's why they accepted those terms, because they wanted to accept peace rather than constant threats from the Israelis. And of course the Israelis didn't like that, and Benjamin Netanyahu made the boss call when Trump became president, and Trump pulled out of the JCPOA. Because if Bibi can't have his perpetual enemy in the Middle East, then Israel will fail. There's a reason why Benjamin Netanyahu never made the claim that Iran was close to a nuclear weapon after the JCPOA was signed. Why he kept it kind of on the low. Because he kind of knew, like, I can't really run that line anymore if they have safeguards now preventing them from making a nuke. So, I don't think Iran walked all over Obama, man. I think Obama did what Trump never could, and it's diplomacy. I know that Obama was busy drone striking weddings in Syria, but in this particular instance, he did master diplomacy on this one.
Their military sites, political sites, and or cultural sites targeted. How about their oil and gas? If they don't have energy, they have absolutely nothing. And as you said in your open, and you're perfectly correct, with energy independence, we don't need them the way we did before.
Oh, it makes all the difference.
All
the difference in the world. It really.
Fucking British guy having an opinion on American politics. You know why Americans like this will say some dumb horse shit about targeting cultural sites when it comes to war? Because in America, we have nothing. I mean, we have like some native cultural sites that we've managed to spare in the last 400 years of colonial Native American genocide. We've managed to at least spare a few of their landmarks, a few of their cultural sites. Granted, we usually take them for our own and gentrify them. But some of them we've at least somewhat preserved. But for the most part, like, our cultural sites are the Mall of America, a memorial in Washington, D.C. honoring Abraham Lincoln. We've got like national parks. That would be our equivalent of a cultural site. We don't have like ancient temples from, like the era that like Jesus would have lived through. We don't have stuff like that. So we don't understand. We don't have like holy religious sites. We have like the same cookie cutter brick built like church from like the 30s on every block in the South. You know, we have like mega churches and stuff like that, but we don't have like ancient sacred temples. It's not like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is here. You know, like we don't have cultural sites like that. You know, if if Iran bombed the McDonald's, that's not the equivalent. You know, that wouldn't equal like us bombing a holy temple that was built in like 400 AD. We don't have shit like that here. That's why Americans talk so openly and recklessly about bombing cultural sites, because we don't understand how important stuff like that is. We just don't. We don't understand it. Our idea of a cultural historical site is like a farmhouse that some slave owner built in 1835 that's still standing somehow, because some family has been upkeeping it for like 150 years now. That's like our equivalent of a cultural site. So we just don't get it. That's all it is. We just don't get it. And so now Iran has begun, you know, bombing the surrounding Gulf states. The U.S. is sending warships to the Strait of Hormuz. You know, they bombed an area in the vicinity of the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. Here's Donald Trump on that same Brian Kill Myself podcast, right? Saying one of like the most racist things I've heard in a while.
And say, this is about ISIS. So, I mean, how do you get into the mindset of this? How do you stop it?
They're sick people, and a lot of them were let in here. They shouldn't have been let in. Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong there.
So
the genetics are not exactly. They're not exactly your genetic. It's one of those problems, Brian. It's a terrible thing, and it happens.
Their genetics are why they're bad people. That is just straight up Nazi eugenics talk right there. This is what white people were saying about black people like 200 years ago. That their genetics were inferior. Keep in mind, the only difference between like someone like me and a black person is how dark their skin is compared to mine. It's just the skin color. Other than that, we're pretty much built the exact same. You know? Yeah, we're built the exact same. It's just the skin. Same with the Iranians. And Muslims in general. They're all humans. There's nothing genetically inferior about Muslims and Iranians. So this is just like classic, old school, horrific racism from the American president in the 21st century. Dude, if Bush had said some shit like this, if George W. Bush had said some shit like this, the Republicans probably would have attempted to like get rid of him. Dude, Congress would have censured a president for the first time in years. If Obama had said something like that about white people, I'm not kidding, they would have murdered him.
Well, they're not exactly your genetic. It's one of those problems, Brian. It's a terrible thing, and it happens. And it happens too often.
So bringing up to today, there's a lot of Iranians, over 700, over 1,700.
You can tell when Trump says the initial genetic comment that... Why is this clip so low quality? The initial genetic comment, you can see it in Brian Kilmeade's face, where he's like, maybe don't say that. Because even Fox News knows not to shout the racism. They know to blow the dog whistle. So them hearing him just say this out loud, he's probably like, Wait, oh, don't say that. Oh my god.
So
The genetics are not.
Yeah, look at this. How defeated he looks.
Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong there.
So
the genetics are not exactly.
well,
they're not exactly
Well,
your genetic.
well,
It's one of those problems, Brian. It's a terrible thing, and it happens. And it happens too often.
so bringing up to today,
Completely glosses
there's a lot
over
of
it.
Iranians, over 700, over
just
1,700 came to our border over the 4 years of President Biden. Over 700.
Oh my god. Is that them like trying to lead up into like a Iranian sleeper cell? Like Iranian sleeper cells or something? Good lord. Just a full-on Nazi, man. Yeah, because then Trump was out here saying there could be more than 1,700 Iranian sleeper cells, which that's about the number that Ryan Kilmeade just said in that last clip. Someone said we just spent 9 months raiding Home Depot parking lots instead of arresting anyone from the massive network of Iranian terror cells. Yeah, if there were so many Iranian terror cells, why haven't we gone after them sooner? Why haven't we gone after those terror cells sooner? But we arrested that little boy. You know, we arrested that little boy and put him in an ice camp for a few days. But, you know, the Iranian sleeper cells, we're just watching them. We're keeping a close eye on those Iranian sleeper cells. You understand? A close eye. So stupid, man. They want a false flag attack so bad. So, gas prices are on the rise. I talked about it last week, but, you know, the photo I showed that gas prices were about... Let me see what the number was, because it's gone up since then. Gas prices were... Hello? I guess I gotta, like, open it like... They were $3.40. Sorry, $3.60 with a debit card. My gas when I bought it 2 days ago was $3.89, and it's on track to hit about $4, probably by the beginning of next week. So, what is the administration's response to rising gas prices nationwide? You know, because I just live in Georgia. I know that the gas prices will be different in Alabama. They'll be a little cheaper. I know they'll be different in New York. They're going to be a little higher. California, they're going to be way higher because they were already pretty high. Florida varies depending on where you are. So, you know, what is the administration's response to the worst gas price catastrophe since the Bush era? You know, one of the worst gas price issues we've had since the Biden oil pipeline disaster from 2021. What's their response?
All this conversation happens where...
Can I just say I hate it when they put their agenda points in the back like this? It looks so dumb.
Joe Biden left us in a terrible situation, and the reason why gas prices are where they are today is because of Donald Trump's work to get them lower, because in the Biden administration, they were crazy high.
It has been over 400 days since Trump took office. Over 400. He's been in office since January 20th last year. Gas prices when Trump took office nationwide on average were about $2.90 a gallon. Somewhat high. But, you know, not that bad. Not as bad as compared to 2021 when it reached like $3.50 a gallon because of that pipeline shortage. I know that that's probably like a more localized thing where it's just this region of the country that felt that. But I'm pretty sure the whole country felt some semblance of that. Because leading up to that point, gas had been fairly low. It had still been COVID era gas prices, like sub $2 gas prices, and that's a situation skyrocketed it. But since then, gas prices, at least around here, have floated around $3.20 at the highest to as low as about $2.40. It kind of fluctuated between there. And when Trump took office, I remember the gas prices were roughly around $2.70. Then they dropped to $2.60 and then $2.50 over the course of the year. By the end of the year, they were sitting at $2.40 and just kind of stagnated there at $2.40. Right now, it's almost $4. So explain to me how gas prices going down through the first year of the Trump admin and then suddenly skyrocketing up to $4 is Biden's fault. Maybe the actual correlation here is the illegal war we just launched on Iran, which happens to be the region that a lot of our oil comes from, that a lot of our shipping and stuff comes from. Weird, right? That a lot of our oil comes from there, and then suddenly, because we can't get that oil anymore, it makes our gas prices shoot up? Huh. Surely that's Joe Biden's fault. Biden was a shitty president, but even I'm not stupid enough to believe this shit. You know, a lot of Biden's policies didn't directly affect gas prices, if we're being honest. I think they hit that high during the gas pipeline incident, and then oil companies realized they could just kind of soften the price a little bit, but still keep it kind of high to maintain their profit. You know? Same thing with all the other corporations. 2022 was a high profit year for corporations. Profits that exceeded any kind of like actual inflation rate, meaning that they profited more than they did the year previous, even adjusted for inflation. So this was across the board. There was really nothing that Biden necessarily did explicitly that caused prices to go up, other than corporations doing what they always do during Democrat administrations, where they jack up prices and then say that it's actually the Democrats' fault so they can get their buddies in office for those tax breaks. So, you know, this is such a funny thing to do when you're the vice president and you blame the Biden administration for high gas prices when you're over a year in.
The gas prices we're seeing today are nothing like what we saw at the peak of the Biden administration because the president has set us up for energy dominance.
Oh, now suddenly, Jesus Christ, give me some pixels back. Oh, so now, suddenly, gas prices are actually great. Who knew? Wow. Suddenly, actually, it's not that gas prices are bad, right? Which is Biden's fault that they are. That they are bad. But they're not. They're actually really good. And that's because of Trump's glorious work. The video literally broke on me, by the way.
Today are nothing like what we saw at the peak of the Biden administration because the president has set us up for energy dominance. And
I'm almost certain that the gas prices that I'm paying right now are higher than anything I ever had to pay under Biden. Right now, especially if we hit the $4 mark, I never had to pay for $4 a gallon under Biden. You know, the only thing that lowered gas prices during the Trump admin was COVID, because during COVID I paid like $1.20 a gallon for gas, and with a Kroger Plus card I got it down to 20 cents a gallon at one point. You know how awesome that was, to pay like $2 for a full tank? But the highest gas prices I think I ever paid under Biden was like $3.50 or $3.60. We hit that $4 mark, I will be paying higher gas prices than I ever have in my entire adult life. So I don't know what he's talking about here while he's in the fucking toaster. Good Lord.
One of the lessons we all have to take away, frankly, every time we get involved in anything overseas, whether it's in the Middle East or anywhere else, the thing we got to take away from it is energy dominance and energy independence. Rely on our own people, rely on our own energy.
If that's the case, then why did gas prices go up after we invaded Iran? But you just said that gas prices have actually gone down, implying that gas used to be more expensive before this war and that they've actually gone down since the war began. This is just such blatant manipulation and lying and bullshit. Like, they really do think you're stupid. He really is implying that gas prices have been higher before this war, that they've been high since the Biden administration, higher than they are now. They really want you to believe that. That don't go back and look at any of the receipts of your previous fill-ups. Don't look in your bank statements. Don't look at any photograph or street view image of a gas station from the last year or so. Don't look at the evidence right in front of your... Don't believe your lying eyes. When, J.D. Vance goes up here, I almost call him Joe Vance. When J.D. Vance gets up here and he tells you to your face, prices for gas were way higher before this war because of the Biden administration, and actually because of our great policies, they've gone down. He's lying. Blatantly. That's the weakest thing I've ever heard. And it's the most obvious, disprovable lie. They think you're stupid. They really think you're dumb. They truly do. They think you are absolutely stupid. The dumbest motherfucker on earth. They truly think that. Sorry, but gas was not $4 a gallon last week. Or the week before that. Definitely wasn't that fucking high a month ago. I'm telling you, for the last year of the Trump admin, it has hovered around $2.40 to $2.70. Around that range. It started out at about, roughly $3.20. And then it dropped from there. I'm telling you, he's lying to you. And the prices are going to keep going up, making this line from him even dumber. What day did he say this? He said this on March 13th. On March 13th, gas was about $3.70 in my area. It's $3.90 now, $3.89. It's almost $3.90. That's over the course of 6 days. Gas has gone up since he said that. I can't believe this shit. I mean, I can believe it, but my God, it's just so blatant and open. They know they can just lie to you. Now, the war's not going great. We've spent roughly $23 billion on this war so far. As of March 15th, at least $21 billion. But if I were to estimate now, because it's been about 4 days since this post, probably even higher than the 23 billion number I've been saying. It's probably closer to about 26 or 27 billion. Yeah, that's about how high I would say it is. I mean, we've spent so much money on this war. But the war's not going well. Let's just say that if you're a news channel and you report to the American people that the war's not going so well, the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, wants you to know that you should correct course, in his own words, before the license renewals come up. He says the law is clear. Broadcasters must operate in the public interest, or they will lose their licenses if not. And frankly, changing course is in their own business interest, since trust in legacy media has now fallen to an all-time low of just 9%. That's what he's saying. He wants to pull your broadcast license if you give negative coverage of the Iran war. Now, how illegal is this? Well, I would say at the very least, it is deeply unconstitutional. It's a violation of free speech. And media companies have been bending over for this stuff. I mean, Disney got on to Jimmy Kimmel and almost canceled his show for the joke about Trump not giving a fuck about Charlie Kirk's death. CBS has been bullying Stephen Colbert and has even canceled his show due to FCC censorship. So, these companies have been bending over backwards for the Trump admin. Thankfully, the internet exists now, right? There's no regulation on the internet. The internet's not a public utility, which would then cause the government to be able to regulate it in a certain way. Thankfully, the internet doesn't have the same censorship issue that cable TV does, that broadcast television does. But it's still alarming to hear the FCC chair. God, dude, the whistle in my teeth. Good Lord. It's still alarming to hear the FCC chair say that you can have your license pulled if you don't give favorable coverage of the Iran war. So, I think that's disgusting. And such a blatant stomping of the First Amendment. The last thing I'll talk about that's happening in the Middle East that's pretty devastating is we all remember the genocide in Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of people murdered by the Israeli government by way of bombs, snipers, starvation, disease, lack of clean water, polluted air, lack of medical aid, for like cancer treatments or premature babies, stuff like that. Just the complete systematic destruction of a people and a culture. All because Israel wants to set up a fucking hotel there. How insane is that? They want a unified Israel, and they want to be able to build a fucking Marriott right there, and then a Trump Tower right next to it. That's what they've been doing in Gaza. Well, it seems they've been taking it abroad and decided that what they did in Gaza worked so well, despite them denying that they were doing it. It worked so well. They went, what if we brought it to our neighbors as like a little gift, a little neighborly, friendly gift, and we destroyed them too. This is Beirut, the southern suburbs of Beirut. I just watched a video. I don't have it in the doc, so I don't have it ready, but I just watched a video of them bombing an apartment building in Beirut. And it's so reminiscent of the exact same building bombings that inspired the 9/11 attacks. Like, same exact type of thing. Where the building is shot at the bottom with a missile, and then it collapses in on itself. It's so disgusting. They've been using the same tired old bullshit propaganda. Oh, Hezbollah's in the ambulance. Hezbollah's in the hospital. Hezbollah's in my sandwich. Fuck, Hezbollah's in my basement. Netanyahu, please bomb my house. It's the same shit where they said Hamas was under the daycare. Hamas is under the hospital. Hamas is in the university. They're running the schools, folks. They're running the schools. They're in your neighborhood near you, so we're going to kill all of you. They're claiming that they're going into Lebanon, bombing it, because Hezbollah is everywhere. Hezbollah is, according to them, an Iranian, Iranian-backed terrorist group. in Lebanon, when really it's the like Lebanese army at this point. Like Hezbollah is basically the military arm of Lebanon. I know that there are Lebanese troops, but Hezbollah is like basically the official army of Lebanon. And they're trying to say that Hezbollah are terrorists and that they're everywhere. They're in the schools, they're under the hospitals, they're under the road, they're in your car, they're in your back pocket, they're in your pager, because they did literally kill like a ton of people with that pager attack, if you remember. And Reuters reported that Israel destroys bridge in Lebanon and threatens, quote, Gaza-scale destruction, end quote. Western media saying that Israel is going to bring upon Gaza-scale destruction. Western media has been denying Israel's violent genocidal destruction of Gaza for almost 3 years. They've been denying it. They've been saying, oh, it's not that bad. They're just going after Hamas. They just want the hostages back. Oh, the destruction's not that bad. It's over exaggerated. Don't believe everything you hear from the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza. And now they're using the total leveling and destruction and flattening of Gaza as a unit of measurement for what Israel's about to do in Lebanon. We are like the evilest country on earth. We are the evilest region of the world. Western media, Western propaganda, Western ideals, whatever the hell Western ideals are, by the way, other than just being a white supremacist dog whistle. All of it. No wonder the rest of the world views us as disgusting evil monsters. No wonder. We are. We bring nothing but death and destruction everywhere we go. And now we're using the genocide we've denied. I say we. The genocide that the Western media and the U.S. government has denied for over 2 years. We are now using as a tool to measure just how flattened out and destroyed Lebanon is about to be. What crime did Lebanon commit? Being Israel's neighbor. Lebanon's big crime is simply being a neighbor to Israel. Yeah, this is so gross. Now, I did do something I haven't done in a while. And I wrote my first article of the year. Or no, that's not true. I wrote another article before this, didn't I? Yeah, I wrote another one before that. Fuck, I lied. Fuck. I wrote another article for my Substack. It's called Iran War, another $1 trillion forever war that makes you realize why we still don't have free healthcare. And it just kind of goes over the history of our affairs in Iran, how this compares to the Iraq War, what we've done so far, what the president's been saying we're doing, the consequences of the war, all that stuff. So you should go watch it. It's not watch it. You should go read it. It's a nice little article. It's not super long. None of my articles are. I mean, they're just my thoughts on things in the moment, in detail that I can't really go into on here. So, go on there. I talk about like our history of overthrowing their government, of Iran's government in the 50s, and then the Iranian Revolution. I go over all that stuff. So you should go read it. Now, this isn't the only imperial ambition we have.
Will the United States?
Because now Trump wants Cuba.
When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation.
How is a president allowed to just openly, blatantly talk like this about just taking over a sovereign nation? How is he allowed to do this? I mean, is that not like alarming to people that he talks so brazenly about taking over another country? Oh man. Folks, I just got a phone call from the President of the United States. He's on the line right now, and apparently he wants to talk. All right, well, I guess without further ado, here's Trump on the phone.
Listen up, folks. This is me, the President of the United States. That's right, that's right. Nobody can believe it, because why would I be calling into such a fake, low-rating, failing podcast? But folks, this is too important. It's too important to ignore, and that is my illegal claim, but justified claim to Cuba. That's right. I need Cuba. Think of all the good food they have, that's right. But they're right there. They're right there next to the U.S. in the Gulf of America. They're right there next to Florida, my home. It's where I've always lived, that's right. That's why I want Cuba, folks. They're communist, radicals. They're not like my boyfriend, Mom Donnie, who's just a socialist. They're radical communists, which is why I must take them out. I need Cuba. Haven't you ever thought, I love a Cubano? Wouldn't you want to own the Cubano factory itself? That's right. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take the government. That's right. We're going to take the government. We're going to seize the means of production. And we're going to have state-run, beautiful Cubano factories. That's right. Yum. That's what I have to say. Yum.
Yum?
You'll never have a better Cubano in your life. I don't even know what that means. I really don't. But I've heard it's pretty good. I know it's good. I've had it. 1,000 times I've had it. Pete tells me, I can't believe you eat that slop. I said, fuck you, Pete. You're a fucking loser. You don't know good food if it hit you in the face like a beer. That's why I want to take Cuba, folks. Good food. Cubano. Many people probably don't know this because they don't think I can do this, but I'm actually driving right now to go get a Cubano. That's right. I'm driving right now.
Oh.
To Cuba.
I didn't know you were allowed to drive.
Getting a Cubano in Cuba. I'm driving straight there. Launching from the Keys.
How are you going to drive
to Cuba? That's
to
right.
Cuba?
It can be done, folks. It can be done.
How?
Where am I? I don't know why I'm even on the phone right now. I don't know. Is my mother calling? Is that why I'm on the phone right now? Anyways, I forgot what I was talking about. Who are you? You should eat a juicy, fat Cubano, and you'll understand my point of view, why we should take and seize the island of Cuba.
What?
Thank you, folks. Thank you for listening to me and my Cubano adventures. And God bless us and God bless Cuba.
Okay. Oh, he just hung up. It's quite the unexpected call from the president, I kind of forgot he had a direct line to the show like this. Don't really know how he knew I was recording this because we're not live. But yeah, there you go. I guess the president is taking over Cuba for Cubano sandwiches. Okay. That's bizarre. I didn't expect that to be the reason. Frankly, I thought the reason was that, you know, we've been wanting to seize Cuba for decades now, and our tumultuous history with the fact that they're a communist country and that we have Red Scare in this country and don't like communism for some reason, you know. We've been strangling their country for decades now. We've effectively shut off their power grid by strangling their ability to receive oil. That's why I thought we were going to take Cuba, but yeah, I mean, I didn't expect that to be the actual reason. That's because he just wanted a sandwich. I mean, you can just go to, controversial, I know, but you can just go to Miami and get one of those sandwiches. There are a lot of Cubans who live in Miami. You can just go and get a sandwich from there. But I guess he wants it authentic, right? He wants it like purely authentic. You heard he said there he wants to seize the means of production. That sounds a little communist. Anyways, speaking of communism, the House passed a bill 89-10 for it's a housing affordability bill, which would limit something called investors from being able to buy up more than 350 homes. It'd be individuals or corporations. You know, that is the weird catch, right? That you can still buy 350 homes. And so corporations will just create shell companies to usurp this rule. Everything in this country can be bypassed by building shell companies. So I don't really, I'm kind of skeptical of this bill, especially because of the wide support of it. I don't think it'll work the way that people are hoping it will, but I don't know. I'm going to save this one for the next episode. The final thing. So this is an ongoing story, but the MAGA influencer, Jake Lang. Let me show you some of his hits. Jake Lang is a MAGA influencer. And here is him.
Trump.
Here's, a video of him recently that you've probably seen, where
we
he
support you.
Goes up to this sculpture that, says prosecute ICE. It's made out of ice because it's cold. Goes up to this sculpture and starts kicking it like a fucking toddler.
Made for Americans, not for Somalis.
He goes like that, but like makes like a fart sound because he's an idiot, and then almost eats shit after kicking over the first letter. Literally almost trips over the first letter. And he also like accidentally broke the bottom half too, because he kicked it trying to save himself from eating shit. There's another one that like that. Dude, have you never done anything physical in your life?
Pro-life, baby! America first, America only! We'll see you here, February 7th, Saturday, 12 noon, outside the...
This guy's so out of shape. Like, it literally looks like a kid who's never kicked something before. what is like the arm thing? Dude, he looks like such a dumb little bitch in this video. Holy crap. This guy. He kicks like such a fucking pussy, man. What an absolute prick. Oh my god. Yeah, why is he wearing camo? Is he like trying to LARP as a military guy? He's a cosplay triot. Oh, that's awesome. He's escaped from the state psychiatric hospital. Damn, so he's literally just LARPing as a soldier. That's crazy. So, Jake Lang's in the news recently because... Actually, let me show another one of his greatest hits, as if you couldn't hate him enough. And warning on this video, because he does say a pretty nasty racial slur. I'll probably censor it. But here's another one of his greatest hits in case you thought he was such a great guy.
Go back, AIPAC, go back. That's the AIPAC building right there. White Christian men are not going to sit around while you turn our children into a bunch of nigger lovers.
So, full white supremacist. You can't even deny it. There's no plausible deniability there. That's just what he is like, you know. He's just a full-on white supremacist. So, I gotta put a note. So I'm not gonna let the N-word drop in my podcast. He has been caught as being, I know, this isn't going to surprise anybody, water's wet, dogs bark, you know, this isn't like a man bites dog story. This is definitely a dog bites man story. He's been caught allegedly texting a 15-year-old girl in a catch a predator style sting. Is anybody surprised that a conservative right-wing activist who is, honestly, he's beyond that, he's just a Nazi. Is anybody surprised this guy wants to get, you know, intimate with a 15-year-old? Here are the text messages, or a portion of them at least. On Instagram, he said, "You coming to my next protest in Texas? They say I can if you want. I can if want me to." He says, "Yeah, what's your number?" They say, "Can we talk on here instead, or you only text?" He says, "I have too many DMs, text only, sweetie." And then she says something else. Probably just like her number, I would assume. Then they have some text exchanges. He asks how old she is. He says, "Unless you are underage, I don't care. Ha ha." That's what he says. She says, "I'm 15." With a fully clothed picture of herself that's been censored, obviously. But a fully clothed picture of herself. "When do you turn 16? In 6 months. I won't get you in trouble if that's what you're worried about. I can keep a secret," with the tongue out emoji. Dog. Someone said January 6th, 1/6. It all makes sense now. Dude. I mean, come on. This is the same guy that calls Democrats and liberals groomers. Yeah. It's always projection, baby. Always projection. We're never out here just calling every single right-winger pedophiles, by the way. But then it always turns out that they are, you know, especially when they're defending Epstein. Anyways, that is it for this episode. Go check out my Substack. There's a link to it in the description. Go read my article. Please. If you want to support this podcast, go to patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod. If you want to listen to this podcast, you can go to, Spotify, Apple Music, the Samsung Fridge. Samsung Fridge, baby. Maybe even an Amazon Fridge. I didn't think about this, but if your fridge has like Ring camera support and all that, it's probably from Amazon. And thus you can probably listen to this on Amazon Music on your Amazon Fridge. So, go do that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Check out my Substack, please. And I'll see you in the next episode next week. Peace.